It doesn't sound like Rivera gave up too much skinny, though, right? Was he asked about when they decided on Chase, and was he asked about
Yeah.
potential trades and that sort of thing?
Yes, in fact, that was my question. It was the first question, like, when did you settle on him?
Yeah.
And he just, basically you go, I don't think I have known for a long time, I'm not alone in knowing that, like, how much they like Chase Young. And listen, it's hard not to. He was going, whether they're picking him at 2, somebody else is picking him there, right? So, or in that high. So it's not hard to dislike. It's not hard to like him. But you knew that they not only liked him, but they were also telling people, yeah, he could maybe do what Nick Bosa. He could be like our Nick Bosa type, where you come in and make that kind of an impact. And they're talking about how maybe he could be used, et cetera. So that's been for a while. But you still have to go through the process. And that's why they met with some of the other quarterbacks in the draft, between Tua and Burrow and those guys. And there were other guys that you have to consider, because the other part of it too is, what if you go through this process and somebody at the last minute sends up a draft pick, sends up a haul of picks, and you say, oh my God, you got to take that. And now so you have to be prepared. So they went through all that. But as Rivera said in his answer, it was a mere formality. And the trade part, the only team I know for sure that made a legitimate offer, or legitimate, was Atlanta. But there was nothing, and I had heard this earlier in the week, there was nothing that anybody was going to call about, or the teams that were calling did not have the ammo to move up. So the trade was never really a possibility. It would have had to have been that where they would take Atlanta's scenario to them and then say, well, what if you guys did X, Y, and Z plus A, B, C? Then you get to the point where you're saying maybe there's some temptation there. Nothing ever got to that point. There was no back and forth about what they could do or anything like that. They really wanted Chase Young, and if you're going to move off an impact guy at that spot, and you want to get an impact guy, you can't go down but a couple spots.
John, do you think it was as close to unanimous as you can get for Chase Young, for all the key decision makers for the Redskins? I mean, it's hard to get unanimous on anybody, but, I mean, he's such a great prospect. People are saying he's the best pass rusher to enter the league in 10 or 15 years. Was there ever one dissenting voice saying, maybe we don't go Chase Young, we go this other direction, or was it Young all the time?
It certainly felt unanimous to me. I think if you're Jack Del Rio, yes, it's going to be that way. And Ron Rivera is a defensive-minded head coach who had Julius Peppers. I mean, those guys have had Khalil, Von Miller, and Pepper. So, so that, I would guess that it was unanimous, but I don't know if there are other people in the building saying, hey, you guys are off here. We should go Isaiah Simmons. We should go Tua or whatever. I don't know that for sure, but it certainly felt that way. And because they knew the kind of impact he could make, and they knew that they don't have guys like that. I mean, they don't, and that's something that they knew they needed. So yeah, it certainly has felt like a no-brainer for a long, long time.
John, what is the difference? I should know this, and I'm sure you guys discussed this at the time when Del Rio was hired. What can we expect different from Del Rio and Minuski? What's sort of Del Rio's calling card as a D coordinator?
Good question. He's going to run a 43, obviously, so I think that is the biggest change. And to be honest, I think a lot of times what guys do is there's a lot of stuff that gets done that's the same. I don't know that I think it's about how, how easy is that defense to learn, or how complicated are you making it on the field? Because I think that was part of the problems here last year. There were guys that just they may not know how not so much they didn't know how to adjust, because some guys did, but not everybody did. So you'd see some of the confused looks, or the miscommunication in the secondary, and that's one of the things that he first pointed to when we talked to him, was about all the communication errors. So sometimes it's more about that kind of stuff than it is about, well, he's going to do a lot of blitzing and this and that. I mean, listen, we've seen defensive coordinators here over the last couple of years, over the last 10 years, Jim Haslett blitzed a ton. Their defense wasn't good. Joe Barry had one year where he didn't blitz a lot, and then the next year where he did. You know what I'm saying? So that stuff to me becomes irrelevant. I think I think a difference, though, up front will be, it's the two gap versus the one gap for the defensive lineman. Are you responsible for two gaps, or can you just get an attack upfield? Del Rio has played both styles. My sense is, like last year, the last couple of years, those linemen were two gap, so they felt like they couldn't just charge up, get upfield right away. Basically play the pass on the way to the run, that kind of stuff. And that could be more of what they're doing this year. I don't think it's going to be a true one gap. It sounds like they would do a mix of it. You may even have it on one rush. One guy's responsible for two. This guy's got the one gap on this one, because they have guys who can play both. So subtle difference that I think they'll feel like they can attack. But then the other biggest difference is going to the 43, and you have a guy like with Montez Sweat. He is more suited for a 43 front, right? And so I think Chase Young will be outstanding. He'll be good in anyone, but he'll be outstanding in that one. So I think that to me is a big difference as well. That with the personnel they have up front, that works well with them.
What's the latest on the Trent deal, as we saw all of these potential suitors draft tackles, just kind of like smoke's coming out of your ears.
Right.
Do they have any suitors at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was told after the draft that there were three teams that were probably going to be involved, or at least still had interest in him. And the one I know for sure is Minnesota. And I think they're, when you look at when you do the math, it adds up for them if they want it, because they have 12 more picks. They have multiple picks in the third and fourth rounds, areas where, where probably if you give them a couple picks, it could easily get done. There's zero chance that the Vikings are going to want to have 13 rookies on their roster. You have some ammunition to give up. And so, they did. They had made an offer before. It was not a great offer, but they had talked to the Redskins for a while. So I don't know who the other teams are, but I know that one, and it just certainly seems like if the Vikings really wanted to get it done, they could get it done today.
Yeah, so they have 89 and 105 in the third round. So maybe they part with one of those?
I think if I had to guess, I would say one of those and maybe another lower round pick.
Okay.
Something like that. Something where, because the Redskins have said they want second round value, and there are multiple ways to get to that point. It could be it's a combination of straight flat out second round pick or a combination of picks. So I think that's why they can make the combination. They could easily make that combination work. And so I know that the Redskins would like to add another third or fourth, because there's some good value in those rounds, and I say especially the third. Get another top 100 pick. And so that's why I say it logically it points in that direction. Doesn't mean it'll happen, but logically that's where I would look.